Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Carlo with 4GQ TV. We have a very, very special guest today. Real quick, I'll introduce the panel. We have Paris down below me. He's right there, if you see him. And then we have Paul next to me, but I'm not brave enough to because my directions are always off. I think.
Yeah, I know.
There you go. And we have Laila, and hopefully I said your name correctly this time.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
Like Lila Smila.
So, Laila, the first question I want to ask you is, how did you get into voice acting and the career of voice acting?
Sure. Well, I kind of my background is from like the age of 6 onward, I was doing plays, and my joke is that I came out of the womb singing and dancing. I was like, I got a dream, tap dancing my way out. But I've always kind of had the bug for performance and kind of a human television set / jukebox. Whatever I heard or saw, I wanted to mimic. And I grew up watching all the greats from Rocky and Bullwinkle and Bugs Bunny to, Robin Williams in Disney's Aladdin and Mrs. Doubtfire. And that kind of set this thought in my head of something I wanted to do in the future, but I didn't know I could study. So fast forward to after graduating college, I went to UConn, Huskies, woo! And I had like 2 survival jobs after college. Working at a health insurance company and a temp agency, interviewing people for temp jobs. Mm-hmm. And a friend of my mom's who worked in radio told her about Ed Studios in New York and that I could actually study voiceover. And I said, I didn't even know that was something you could study. So it was like something clicked in my brain. And I was like, all right, well, this is all I'm going to be focusing on. So pretty much in December of 2008, I began my journey. And I started, going in over the weekend, for classes and auditions, listening to podcasts, attending webinars, networking with people on LinkedIn after, my day job. And very, very slowly, I, started to put together demos. I got a wonderful mentor, Roy Yokelson of Antland Productions, who kind of was the main person who helped me get going with my demos. And he was very well connected because he's worked for over 30 years on various movies and TV shows and audio production and directing. So after we did my animation demo, he sent it over to somebody at Disney, and then they asked if I wanted to come out for a general audition. So this was in, this is in 2013. So about, 5 years later. And I was still just kind of like pattering along. And I said, yeah, just give me, if I'm going to be out there for a week, I'm going to milk it for all it's worth. So I scheduled a general audition at Nickelodeon. I had lunch meetings. I attended women in animation meetings. And for those that are not familiar with what a general audition is, they used to do it a lot more back in the day. Which is basically you go into the studio, they give you some scripts, and they just see what you can do on the fly, and then they create a makeshift demo out of that in addition to what they already have on file, so they can keep you in mind. So it went very well. The casting director over there asked me what my goal was, and I said, well, I'd love to have a toe in the door, even if it's just a pinky toe. So she sent over my demos to Atlas Talent, and this was on Monday of that week. By Wednesday, I got an email saying we can start you on trial, and no promises, but we can start you for a couple months and see how it goes. And I said, give me a month. So I basically left everything from my home in Connecticut. Luckily during that 1 week that I was there, I found some people that helped me find my first home. I ended up staying in a house in Sherman Oaks with a couple other entertainment creatives, and that's kind of where I began my my journey. And it was not an easy one. I was Uber and Lyft driving every weekend from crazy hours, like 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. And I was pet sitting and dog walking, and slowly but surely, I started getting more agents. I started connecting with more casting directors. My marketing started getting more efficient. And now I'm working full time doing what I love in all different genres of what I love: commercial, narration, animation, video games, anime, dubbing, creatures, phone system. So it's something I'm incredibly grateful for. But it definitely takes a lot of stubbornness and persistence. And there were a lot of times that I called into my family, like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm going to make it, and luckily I was very fortunate to have a supportive family that helped me get through the first couple of years, when I was just really just scraping by, and wonderful friends in this community, and the voiceover community is just, they're so giving. So that's kind of in a nutshell my story.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story. I mean, you started from the bottom, you're grinding your way to where you are right now.
Yep. And that being said, I wasn't competitive enough to stay with Atlas when I first started. So actually that ended, and I had to bounce around to all other different agents for almost 7 years until now. As of last year, I'm signed with Atlas, and we've had like one of the best years. I've had the best years with an agent, period, by being with them now, but being ready to be with them now. So, and for people that are starting and get in, with a smaller agency or a boutique agency, or they're with multiple agencies, but they feel like they're just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall, I just say use every single audition as practice, because eventually you're going to hit a groove. It may take a while, but you'll hit a groove. Yeah.
Nice. Is there any sort of thing that you would change over these past couple of years 7 years that you've been into it, prior to signing on as a full time, maybe just before you got this contract, I guess? But is there anything you would do differently now that you sort of like where you're at right now?
Well, let's see. Since 2008, wow, it's been 12 years since I started pursuing this, and I think the main thing I would have. There are certain coaches that I work with now that I wish I had known when I first started, because they've completely changed the competitiveness of my reads. Learning things like eye line of the character that you're speaking to, choreography while you're giving a performance, to take your brain out of the equation and just focus on how you're feeling. Letting go of perfectionism. And how I sound, and comparing myself to others, and self-doubt. Those are things I think, and I think every actor struggles with that, and that never fully goes away, which is why I work with a coach almost every day to help me make selections and figure out things and combat that. But I think it's a number of things. I would have, had I known some of the people I've known now, I would have been working with them like on retainer, from a very very early start. But other than that, mainly just making sure that I was in a good headspace, and I was not in the kind of feeling like I have imposter syndrome, or comparing myself to others, or focusing too much on how I sound versus what I'm communicating. Those are the things that that I think are always great to start earlier to learn. Yeah.
That whole failure first sort of thing, and then stub your toe, and then you keep moving. So
exactly. Yeah.
So throughout the last 2 years, I know that COVID has impacted a lot of ways that we interact, and I've heard from multiple different voice actors that now there's like home studios is becoming more common. So do you find with the COVID and the situation that we've had, do you find it harder to audition? Because I've heard that there's a lot more competition now, because it's kind of like a lot of people from home are trying to submit, and even though they're not professionals, they're still trying to break in the door.
Well, I mean, before the pandemic, I was still working from home 80% of the time. There's only a couple studios that really required me to come in, and it was still kind of like a little treat. I will say, no matter what genre you're pursuing, the cream of the crop does rise to the top. So if you're sending competitive reads consistently and getting good feedback, that obviously will make a big difference. But I mean, I think that yes, the market is saturated, but there are so many niche markets for people. And if you have, and again, it's also in terms of representation and, are you being listened to and things like that. For me, I'm lucky that I've put many eggs in many different baskets in terms of what I can do. So that luckily I stay busy. But I know if for those that are just focusing on, that are just on casting sites and pay to plays, it is a lot harder because the market's just getting more and more saturated. But again, I think that talent and being fun to work with and professional are things that will still make you stand out. It's ironic that since I think my workload almost doubled since the pandemic started because think about it, every company has to change their message. They have to change their advertising campaign. They've got to, so for all the people that already had home studios like myself, now we're getting, even more opportunities in a lot of senses for the people that we've already worked with. They're coming back and they're just hiring us directly. And even big studios, Disney, Warner Brothers, Nickelodeon, still patching in from home, primarily. There's only been, I think I've only been at like 4 or 5 studios this year.
Yeah.
So.
That's good. Staying busy.
Yeah. Keeps me out of trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
Any of the characters that you've played over the years that you've really related to that really stick out no matter what?
Yes. So when I played a couple. One was Yana the Yeti in Rainbow Butterfly Unicorn Kitty, because basically she's just me. She's just an exaggerated version of me, like and all my ridiculous optimism and goofiness, because she just I don't know how to explain it other than she's just this lovable, dorky, silly Yeti that says things like, "Has anyone seen my golf ball? It's round. It looks like a golf ball." Like she's so, and like that kind of sense of humor and that silliness. Like I just really resonated with that. I love Mrs. Croker, honey, because I think I've always been an old sassy lady. I started with Mrs. Croker on Disney's Amphibia. When I got the audition, I was like, oh, this is a job for Granny Prozac, because I had created a character that, like, I would just randomly start talking as an old lady and say things like, I used to be a mermaid. Well, that was before they renewed my prescription. Give me my Prozac. Like, just really stupid things. And I was like, if I take that and make her like a sassy old toad, what's she going to sound like? So I love Mrs. Croker because she's really badass, but she's like an old lady also. So she's got like funny quirks. Mm-hmm. And she'll be like, well, what do you know? 1 foot in the grave and still learning new things. And just hysterical and nonsensical. And then I also Sophia Falcone on the Batman The Long Halloween, because she's I think I connected with this Sophia's pain and wanting to be accepted. There's always going to be like a couple family members that you feel like this weird divide between, mm-hmm. and the way that she was portrayed as such a sympathetic villain, and the way she really just wants to be seen and heard. I felt like this was something that I really could connect with on a deep level, especially growing up, just being like, I consider myself a very shy, outgoing person. Like when I was just finding myself, figuring out who I was, hello, doggy, so I think we all have that part of our personalities that's more vulnerable and sensitive and longing for connection, and for those, the connection with her father, where she's trying to be seen as an equal, but she's mm-hmm. not. That was one of my favorite roles, just because it gets to tap into a more cinematic style of acting, which I don't get to do very often.
Yeah, I love that character. I loved it. I loved it. I was just like, wow, this is you watching, animation. Sometimes you just where's Batman and all this other stuff. But
Yeah.
they do things like that, and they allow the other characters to sort of have their own story behind them, and for you to be able to bring that to the forefront, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I will always remember that character over a lot of the other ones in the show. It's just it was phenomenal. So you did a really really good job on that.
Yep,
Thank
she
you
was
so
one of the
much.
strongest characters in it. As soon as I saw you were it, and then I went, oh yeah, because even when I was watching it, I'm not saying it just because you're here. She was one of the standouts in the episode.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Paul, you want to jump in here with a question?
You kind of caught me off guard there. I did have some in there. They're all gone now. The dogs barked the questions away. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Oh, while you're thinking of your question, I did think of one other character that I absolutely love, which is Liberty Buchanan in Wasteland, the villain. Because there's nothing better than a classic badass villain, powerful and angry and controlling, and I just really, 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 really loved playing her.
So, are there any that really kind of surprised you when between what you thought you were going to end up to do and what you ended up with by the time you figured out where you wanted to be with it?
Oh, for characters?
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, there's been times when I've gone in for a session and they were like, actually, she's going to be French, or actually, we're gonna completely change the, her personality or things like that. But I'm trying to think. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that like completely threw me for a loop. But mainly it's just that sometimes you'll go in and they'll be like, you'll have one idea from the audition, and then they'll be like, actually, we're completely changing it up. So you just kind of.
And so that pulls into the old the whose line is it anyway type.
Yeah, the improv, exactly.
The improv.
You have to have a bunch of ideas on standby, a bunch of characters in the wings ready to go because you have no idea, and it's just playing. You're playing in the sound box instead of the sandbox.
Yeah.
It's a job I wish I could do because I know that it can be a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Are there behind the scenes takes of like you just messing around with the characters and just doing all saying all sorts?
Oh yeah. Well, one of the classic things that when I was doing Hades, I was Demeter and Persephone in Hades with and Darren from Supergiant Games was directing me, and we're just constantly cracking each other up because I'll get through like a really serious line and I'll mess something up and I'll just start laughing hysterically and like, okay, this time we're gonna get all the words correctly, dancing around all in a row. Come on, let's do it. And then we go right back into serious like Greek mythology. I'm constantly cracking up in my sessions, especially cartoon sessions. There's been times when I've done stunt burps for characters where they're like, who can do the best burp? And I was like, I can, because I do this thing where I inhale air and I make this big belch. So I grab like a bunch of seltzer, and I remember we did that for Rainbow Butterfly Unicorn Kitty, and I had like pat my back, and then when I burped, like one of my friends fell out of her chair onto the ground. We were just laughing, and I like to give kazoo solos for my clients. When they come in, kind of give them a little serenade. So yeah, there's been lots of times, or of course, if you flub a word and create something completely different, and then it becomes like a whole story that you look back on, that's always a lot of fun.
Nice. You're like, take 143. We're gonna get it this time.
That would be an exhausting.
Oh God, no!
Take 143.
Oh man,
when you're having so much fun, sometimes you could.
Have you ever gone into the audition, or let's say that you already got the role and you gone into the booth or whatever it was, and you're like, I got an idea. I want to try the character this way instead of the way it was, completely written. And the sound engineer's like, oh, I like your way better. Has that ever happened?
Yeah, sometimes that happens. And that's happened, that happens sometimes for commercials too. Well, they'll kind of have a more laid back version of something, but then I'll give them like a more sassy version of something, or more matter of fact. But I mean, again, it's kind of one of those things where they just give you a grab bag of ideas, or that you'll get the character and you'll look at it and be like, I think this could be many different ways. It should be like really dorky. It should be super dorky. Hello, I'm super sexy. Or, you can be, or maybe it's just like a misunderstood and like, I'm really just trying to fit in, but like, I'm trying to be cool, like whatever it is. You look at when it's characters anyway, it's like the picture informs so much when you have that and the background of things. But yeah, definitely. We'll try different things when we go in there. And usually the director has a couple ideas in mind. And then from there, we can bounce off of each other.
Yeah.
Actually, sorry. I was going to say, actually, that brings up something that I want. So in a lot of the cases, they give you a picture of what the character looks like, and then you can.
If you're lucky,
person can sound like that. Yeah.
If you're lucky, sometimes you just get a description and a backstory, and then you just go, and then you look at the script and see, and create your own vision in your head of what the character is. But especially when in animation. It's whenever you have a picture, it's so informative because you can tell like how do they move their mouth, or do they have big cheeks, do they have an overbite, is it a small character, is it a large character, is it hovering over you, and how they carry themselves, all those sorts of things will inform how it's delivered.
Yeah, I'm sure, due to the secrecy of everything and the NDAs, they like to keep probably stuff as discreet as possible. So they're like, here you go, a couple of. sometimes the artists or animators just don't have any artwork yet, and they're just sending you, or they have so many characters that they just give you the background, and you can kind of just play around. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I bet you that plays the other way though. If they don't have a drawing yet, but you give them a voice that they like, and they go, "Okay, I think that voice goes to this."
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And sometimes artwork is subject to change. They'll have a general idea of what the character looks like, but they'll be like It'll say on the bottom, "Artwork subject to change," and that will very much be informed by who books the job.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Now, when you're studying for a character, right, and you have the job coming up, you got the job, but you're trying to get into the character's mindset and everything. Do you ever go around, let's say, like when you're at the grocery store somewhere, and you just talk like the character, and people look at you?
Not in public, but I will tell you, I was so obsessed with Sophia Falcone before doing that read that the night before I woke up in the middle of the night to get some water, and I was like, my father, I gotta talk to my father. He's not gonna listen to me. I gotta talk. Like when it's a really big thing, I kind of like just live in that character like for a day when I can, like just talk to myself. But I won't go out in public. I'm too shy to do that. I don't do that. I'm just totally shy, outgoing person.
Okay. Okay, but you got. Okay, well, go ahead.
The most I've ever done in public is like in college when I used to, have too much to drink. I'd speak in a British accent, things like that, or I'd start breaking out into South Park characters when I was talking to my friends. But just doing it randomly in the grocery store, I think I'm too self-aware. I'm painfully self-aware.
All right. Okay. What about when you get robo calls, the fake calls, when they just call you? And
have you
ever answered the phone in one of those voices?
I think I'm too. No, I haven't. I think I'm just. I feel like I think maybe next time I will answer as a little old lady or something. It's like a politeness. There's like a part of me that wants to be extra polite, even though like I know they're going through it. Most of the time, they'll just mispronounce my name, and I can say there's nobody here by that name. They'll just say it's Layla home. I'm sorry, there's no Layla. Click, I'm not lying. Oh man.
Nice. Yeah.
When I was in Hebrew school, I did call back before caller ID. I called up one of those 900 numbers pretending to be a teenage boy, and I was like, boobs, and like I said all these things, and then I called back. I called back the number as the boy's mom. I'm so sorry, he's going through a thing right now. You know how boys can be. And the guy was like, "It's all right, man. We get this all the time." And I was like, I had like 3 friends like hunkering by the payphone. We were all like snickering. We're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you did it." I think it's just like I was a little bit more bold as a kid, and then I became like more polite as an adult. But I should once in a while be like, would you like to hear about our long distance off?
Yes, please. And can you tell me about this bunion on my foot? I don't know. It looks infected.
Just keep them on, see how long they'll stay on the line.
Oh, yes. I would love to hear like what is that the Jokers?
Crank Yakers, yeah.
Crank Yakers,
Like,
awesome.
you had like if somebody called you and you just was like, but it's a reverse Crank Yakers. You're not calling them, but they're calling you.
Oh wow.
Slipped
Yeah.
into one of the voices and just started trying to understand what they're trying to sell you in one of your voices.
So this massager here, is it gonna work on my buns? My glutes? Because I got really tense glutes. Because I'm driving these dames all over New York and I can't get a break. So, well, you want me to fill out paperwork? I'm not gonna put down my beer.
Be awesome. Oh wow.
Good times.
Yeah.
So I know that you mentioned Hades was one of your favorite characters, and the Wasteland was another one. Any other video games, even if you couldn't relate to the character 100%, that you were like, oh yes, it's so much fun to be in this video game because this is a cool video game?
Yes, Xiao and Genshin Impact. That's been like probably the most popular character I have played to date. And it's come with a whole fan base. Like literally, I was just kind of like, I'd done a bunch of other projects, but it wasn't until I was in Genshin that all of a sudden, like I go on TikTok and I've got like all these people that are, responding to me and cosplaying as the character or animating something I've said or doing autograph signings and like, yeah, Xiao, because it's like and this was also like I joined TikTok late last year, and it helped me get through the pandemic because all of a sudden I had like this whole group of people that wanted to know more about me and my characters and things, and the whole Genshin community are just incredible people, and we've had our first little picnic together, so it's very strange to be doing the voice of what sounds like a teenage boy that's actually thousands of years old and have people like, messaging me and wanting me to send birthday messages and speak as the character and all these things. And so I think that's kind of the coolest thing I've had to date is like the most recognizable character. And it's kind of made me more well known, because most voice actors, unless it's something very specific that we've done, we're kind of just hidden in the shadows, in our caves.
Yeah. That's cool. Nice little following TikTok and
yeah. And then Gondel, the Valkyrie in God of War 4, that was one of the coolest projects to get to work on. One of the most vocally stressful and difficult projects to work on, but I got to go to Sony Studios, and that was just, ridiculously awesome. And then getting to see everything come together and getting to be a part of such a big franchise was just phenomenal. World of Warcraft as Overlord Gaara, the Orc, and other projects with Blizzard. That's been really phenomenal. Getting to work on the really big stuff, The Last of Us 2 as stalkers and runners. Again, I must be a masochist because I put myself through a lot of creature and vocally stressful stuff. But then you look at the finished product and you're like, wow, I did that, That's been really cool. So, I mean, there's so many video games that I've loved being a part of. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Of the iceberg, right? Well, we like to thank you for your awesomeness in video games because without you, we wouldn't be able to get all these voice characters. And while we're playing the games,
So I have a question. Do you play video games? You play any
Yes.
games that you've taken part in?
Yes. So I grew up with like Nintendo and Sega. I was playing Sonic 2, Aladdin, The Lion King, like all the old school, and then Road Rash and River City Ransom, all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And then I went. I don't know why it is. I just didn't have a console of my own for many, many years. I think it was because I was fearful that it would just consume my life. Back when I wasn't as good at time management. But I was very fortunate that I have a friend who used to be a GameStop manager, and he managed to get me a PS5. So that changed the game. So basically, I've been mainly playing Genshin Impact and Mortal Kombat 2 and things like that. I have so many other games downloaded, but Genshin has kind of taken over my life. Whenever I play. Now I'm in the part of the game where I need like other people to help me get through certain parts of the quest so I can advance my adventure rank. But I love adventure games, racing games, fighting games. I mean, Street Fighter, all those sorts of things that I grew up with like that. But yeah, so I'm getting back into my gaming roots, and I played a lot of computer games growing up. Everything from 2D games like Mixed Up Mother Goose to Oregon Trail, which I was obsessed with. And you can still actually play. There's like a version you can play on directly from your computer, but you can't save the game. You have to go through like the whole thing. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. Where in the world is Carmen San Diego? Like all those educational fun games. Yeah.
Flappy Bird.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The only games I'm not really into are like the really strategic or sniper kind of things. I like adventure, fighting, like what do you call it? The World Quest kind of games,
RPGs.
RPG, exactly. RPG. So I'm expanding my repertoire. I'm getting back into that world. Yeah.
Nice. Hey, so I do have a question. So when you were, when you first started out and you got, your voice on a couple of characters that are out there, and you had to share it with your parents, what did they initially say?
Oh, they were so excited. They're like my biggest fans. They really are. So everything. My mom's always like texting me, "Can you send me that link? I want to send it to my friend." And like all these things. They're really, really supportive, and I get so excited every time I have something to share.
Nice.
It's like show and tell for me. All the time. So no, and but I will tell you this: I had like this big commercial session where I had to travel into Chicago. And like the next day I had to record, and I was so, I was jet lagged, and my voice was a little deeper. And I played it for my grandma. She's like, "Wow, you sound like a man." You sound really good, but you don't sound like you. You sound like a man. I was like, "Thanks." Like I do get a lot of like genderless and androgynous roles, which I like. Like when sometimes I'll be, especially after traveling, like I'll get into a more husky range or something, but I find that hysterical. Or I'll get the classic, "It doesn't sound anything like you." I'm like, yeah. My cousin was playing, got through the whole game of Hades, and then looked at the credits, and he had no idea that I was both Demeter and Persephone. He was like, "What?" So those are the moments I live for, where I can just, like surprise,
Name pops up. What?
Yeah.
What?
Exactly.
What is this?
Exactly. Well, a lot of people felt that way too. A lot of people felt that way too about Xiao, because they thought it was a guy or a boy, at least like a teen guy voicing it. And I do a lot of boy voices, so it's always a nice surprise when they can be like, "Wait, Xiao's a girl?" Like, yeah. What else? Yeah, surprise!
Yeah, you're at the convention signing. Like, wait a minute, hold up. Nice.
Well, what does it feel like when you go back to play games like Genshin Impact and you know that your voice is in there and you come across your character? Like, do you have any?
I'm a Xiao main, so I'm very used to it now. I'm constantly hearing myself in this aggro emo mode. But when I first started, playing, I was like, "This is weird. This is really weird. Like, this is every it's like, it's different. It's different when you just watch a clip of your character versus actually playing as your character, and you get so excited. And then it's even more exciting when like almost everybody in the cast, and every time a new character pops up, you're like, oh, I know who that is, and then you take a video and send it to your friend. So it's kind of it is kind of surreal, but it's very exciting. I get very excited, and then I'm like, whoa, I guess they chose that line for me to sound like that, because they just give you so many lines, and you don't know what's going to end up in the final in the game. You're like, oh well, okay, it's more aggressive than I thought, but
that's nice. Like, I remember all these lines.
Yeah.
Right before they, like, if you're playing with someone, listen, they're gonna say this
Yeah. Yeah.
before it
They're
actually
like,
is said.
wait for it.
Wait for it. There it is.
Boom.
Did you have any idea that Genshin Impact would become so popular?
No idea at all. I just, like I said, I recorded a lot. I've recorded a lot of video games, and the casting director had me specifically in mind for Xiao, I guess based on the specs and what they were going for. And then when I booked it, I was like, oh, awesome. And I we recorded the majority of it in studio, and then a couple of it from my home studio. And then when it finally releases, and I see how popular it is, I'm like, this is crazy. But again, I've been in other games that were very popular, but I wasn't, part of any fan base. But then when I found out, one of my friends was like, you have to get on TikTok. All the Genshin fans are on there. And I was like, okay. And I posted like one video. It was like a 7-second video just showing my character. And it had like 350,000 views over the course of like 2 or 3 days. And I was like, this is insane. What is going on? So, and then I it's like a totally other world, the fans are so devoted, and the cosplay and I'll be in an interview and then somebody will animate. I've had my jokes animated, like things like that. Like they'll just animate my character, people reenacting things in cosplay. Like I never had any idea that it was going to blow up the way it has, but it's really cool to be a part of it,
Yeah. It's awesome. I like when the voice actors and people, the illustrators, the artists, folks in the behind the scenes that sometimes get looked over a little bit, get that shine. So that's awesome. Gotta give everybody their flowers because y'all make it happen. So cool.
That's right.
Yeah.
Lots of flowers.
There we go. Awesome. We got a couple more minutes left, so I want to just jump into some of the questions that we have. We generally ask everybody these questions.
Yeah.
And Carlo and I have been working on trying to figure out. Okay, well, we'll start like, what's your favorite food, and then do you like pineapples on pizza? So
I think favorite food is Asian food, primarily sushi, with pizza a close second, and no to the pineapple.
No pineapple.
I mean, I'm a classic like pepperoni, pepperoni sausage, olives type of deal. If I go to a party and like it's all that's there for some reason, I'll eat it, but I might make a face. It's kind of one of those things. It's like, yeah, maybe, but it's not something that you're like, oh boy, this is what I want. It's like I'm not going to throw it away like if it's the only thing, but it's not something I would ever crave.
Right.
Because you want savory.
First thing you ask, like, who put pineapples on the pizza?
Yeah. What mook decided this was a good idea?
There you go.
Yeah, do you think Sophia Falcone would like pineapples and pizza?
No, I think she'd be a meat lovers. Classic meat lovers.
Yeah. I can hear her voice right now talking trash.
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Probably Italian sausage, mushrooms, and onion. Yeah. That's a good good classic combo. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Carlo.
So, is there anything upcoming that you want your fans to know, people out there that you can talk about?
Sure. Let's see what I can actually talk about. Well, Fire Emblem Heroes finally announced my character, Thor. She's in the game now, so I'm super excited about that. Disney's Amphibia is in season 3. So you can catch more of Mrs. Croker, and I'm just absolutely in love with this show and the cast. There's a new TV series called Wild Card where I play Prima. I'm a statue that may or may not be a hallucination of college students. And let's see what else. If you have HBO Max, you can watch Aquaman, King of Atlantis. You can see me in episode 2 as a cute, fun little crab that tells Aquaman where to go, gives him directions. There's a podcast series called Whale of a Tale that I'm in right now, and I play Calypso.
Mm.
And let's see, what else? For those that are familiar with the video game Lost in Random, which kind of has a very Coraline kind of view, I am whatchamacallit, I'm the Baroness and Neeshka, as well as the what is it called? She's like the rug weaver. Yeah, a couple characters in that. And I actually watched the whole all of the cutscenes as a movie a couple months ago. But the animation in that video game is unreal. I felt like I was in Coraline. Like, it was incredible. So that's a couple things. And then I always post new projects I've been working on my YouTube, which is just Laila Berzins voiceovers.
Yeah. That's going to bring up to our next question. Where can we find you?
You
on
can
the
find
social?
me and all the things and stuff. On YouTube, it's Laila Berzins voiceovers. On TikTok, it's at Laila Berzins voice. On Instagram, it's Laila B_voiceovers. This was before I realized I should have every single screen name be the same. And on Twitter, it's L Berzins_voices. And then Facebook is Laila Berzins voiceovers. It's like my whole last name is voiceovers. And my website is lilaberzins.com. So all of my contact information, social media, email, all that stuff is on there. And I post additional videos and things on there. So, TikTok, I'm big on there now. And I do autograph signings on TikTok and YouTube every once in a while. So I usually post about that on my TikTok and Instagram. But yeah, those are my socials.
There we go. The interwebs.
The webby webs.
That is awesome. That's amazing, and I want to thank you so much for hanging out with us. And also,
such a pleasure.
If you ever go to a convention in the future, Sophia Falcone, I'd like that signed. I'd come up to your booth, even if you didn't have those pictures. I'd be like, "Can you sign this for me, please?"
Oh, definitely. Oh my gosh, definitely. And fingers crossed that we get a sequel. That we get the next chapter, because she's a much more pivotal figure in the next installment.
Right.
So we'll see.
I hope so.
Fingers crossed.
Nice. Awesome.
Well, for everybody out there watching, I want to thank you very much, and follow Laila on all her socials. Especially if you're a Genshin Impact fan, go to her TikTok, subscribe, and share that stuff out, because that's huge. And see you guys next time.
Thank you. Bye.